This week on Today's Homeowner, we're creating a beautiful back porch paradise for this historic home. They say the devil is in the details, but so is the history, and we're hoping to find one without the other.
Boy, this is a great neighborhood here in Mobile, Alabama. It's one I've done a lot of work on over the years, and most of these houses were built about 85 or 90 years ago. Now, when you're building an addition onto a house like this, you have to be very selective on all of the materials that you use, and that's whether you're building an addition or building a very nice outdoor entertainment area like we're doing on the back of this house that's owned by the Slaytons.
Several years ago, we did a major renovation on this place for them just before they moved in, so we know this house pretty well. And recently, I talked with Bailey Slayton about this back porch project, how it developed, and what he hoped it would accomplish.
This time was a little bit different because we had to deal with the historic nature of the project, with this neighborhood being a historic district in Mobile.
So you have to kind of go through that review board to make sure that
a little bit of bureaucracy that we got to play with this time. But one of the things we did is we tried to think about that on the front end. Mm-hmm. And with some of the plans, we took into some of the considerations. We knew some of the things we could do, some of the things we couldn't do on the front end. And so what we really tried to do for the most part is a lot of the stuff that we did on the front porch, we really just wanted that to be pretty much similar, if not exactly like what we did with this.
Well, I mean, it's a great look. I mean, the beadboard on the ceiling out there, that'll look good out here. But man, the floor you've got out there, the Ipe, I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's one of the things that we did initially. We added that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and
well,
I get a lot of positive comments.
Oh,
on it.
I bet so. And it's a warm look to it as well, because y'all are going to spend a lot of time out here on the porch. And let's see, we're going about 17 by around 24, I guess.
Right, about 17 by 24. We're basically going to be from this side of the right-hand side of the door to the corner of the house, coming straight out.
And big, massive fireplace out here.
Nice, massive fireplace.
That's interesting.
And of course, in Mobile, I don't know how much the fireplace comes in handy in my family, at least. Anytime the temperature drops below about 60, they want to light a fire
right,
somewhere.
Why not? That sounds
that's something
good.
we're looking forward to.
And then you're going to have step down over here, and I understand you're going to have kind of a little formal patio over here.
Right, we have the rocks here now, and we just thought it'd be a little bit better to have something a little more sturdy here, a little more long-lasting.
And the architect, Nick Holmes, did a fantastic job in really what you said a minute ago, in adapting to the existing house with the hip-style roof line that matches well, and then all of the finishes, and even the columns. I know they'll be a little smaller than what you had out front, but still the same style.
The exact same. We want the look to be pretty much exactly like what it did up front. The columns on the front of the house, obviously that's a much wider porch. The columns out there are a lot bigger.
But something I noticed as soon as I saw the plans, I don't see a grill anywhere.
We have a space for a grill, and maybe down the road we might do a built-in grill, but one of the things that, and believe it or not, this is what my wife's doing. She wanted to have a TV out here because, we got football season coming
that's
up,
right,
so
that's right.
Plan on spending a good bit of time out here.
All right, well, we'll get it ready for football season.
We're ready.
Okay.
The first step is lay out of the new structure so that we can see what has to be removed to make way for the footings we have to pour next.
Almost any project we do starts with a good foundation, and that's what we're doing with all of the concrete here, is having to move it wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow up to the porch area. Now, even though we're only talking about a porch and a roof, we still have to have a very good foundation, particularly on an outside entertainment area like this, because I know when we finish this thing, the Slaytons are going to have so many people over dropping by. We want to make sure it supports everything. Now, you may wonder why we have the concrete truck way out there and we're pouring things here. Well, this dirt is a little soft, the yard is, and the Slaytons have worked hard to, create a nice backyard. We don't want to destroy it with a big, heavy concrete truck. And even if we tried to cover it up with plywood here and there, it just wouldn't support it. Now, you may have seen some of the concrete pumps that we've used before, and they work fairly well, but when you're only talking about 5 or 6 yards of concrete here, it's really not worth the cost of bringing it out, setting it up. We got 4 guys out on the job here, and we'll take them just an hour or so to push all the wheelbarrows up. Now, here's what we have. We have a series of 9 pier holes here, and you can see the rebar coming up from it. We also have rebar down in the holes themselves to really provide a lot of support there. But this is the big foundation that's going to support the heavy masonry fireplace. I mean, masonry fireplaces weigh thousands of pounds. This will take care of any weight concern that anybody may have there. Now, what they're doing is they're, of course, about to finish everything up and then smoothing everything out so that we'll have it nice and level for our block masons. That'll be the next step in the project. And Joe, I know you fought a lot of the weather this week and everything, but looks like you got a break in the weather here.
We do. You can see what's left of the tent we had to put up to get the holes dug, but now the concrete's finally going in.
There you go, a little bit more work here, and I know it's tough work on everybody there, but they're close to being finished. We'll let it dry, the block masons will come in, and we can move along on this project. Hey, let's check in with Joe Truini for this week's Simple Solution.
No outdoor living space is complete without a barbecue grill. The challenge, though, is how do you keep them clean? It doesn't take too long before they look like this. Now, you may have heard of this trick where you take a big wad of aluminum foil, crumple it up, and use it to scrub the grill clean. And that works pretty well. But to enhance that trick, here you go with some vinegar. Just get some white vinegar, put it in a spray bottle, and saturate the cooking grate. The vinegar is actually a pretty powerful acid, and you'd be surprised how it can cut through caked-on food. Now, it's best to let that sit for a few minutes, but I'll show you how, after just spraying it on, scrub it with some foil. Look at that. Comes right out. Now, it's okay if the grill is warm, but you don't want it to be hot. Now, you don't have to do this after every single cookout, but if you do this 4 to 6 times over the course of the summer, by the end of the cooking season, your grill will be as good as new.
This week, we're adding a back porch to this historic home for Bailey Slayton and his family. The plans call for us to match the details already present on the home's front porch. We already have our footings poured, and now the block masons are putting together the piers that will support the deck and the massive foundation for the outdoor fireplace.
Well, I think everybody's surprised at the size of the foundation for the brick fireplace. You know, we had the big slab underneath with all the steel rebar. Then we had all the blocks that were laid. This is an old-fashioned brick fireplace, so it is very extensive, and you have to think about all of the weight, so a lot of concrete going in it. And our patio slab will be poured at the same time. Now, we're also a little bit surprised at how intricate all of the forms are here, but the reason for it, all of these little troughs that you see here will be where we have bricks that we'll put in to match the existing bricks on the house. This should end up being an awesome looking patio adjacent to the porch. Now, we're also pouring a sidewalk over there, and then the guys are tying this sidewalk in that'll tie directly in to the original one.
To make this sidewalk curve over to the existing walkway, the guys are using pieces of flexible hardboard siding for the forms. This time when the concrete arrives, there will also be a pumper truck to move the concrete. That's necessary now because there's much more work involved in finishing these surfaces than there was in the footings. Now, for example, the patio is really 2 different levels. The center higher level and the lower level around the perimeter that will support the brick border. When all the surfaces are done, the rest of the concrete goes into the cinder block cells and the fireplace foundation. After the patio dries overnight, we add a decorative detail to the surface by scoring it with a diagonal pattern. Finally, the carpentry can begin with a network of floor joists bridging the spaces between the cinder block piers. Even though this framing is pressure treated, it's separated from the masonry piers by metal flashing to create a barrier for termites. On the outer edges, the posts that will support the roof are leveled and tacked in place. Later, they'll get considerably more support. The tops of the posts are notched on one side to support the beams that will connect them. These beams are joined together with ceiling joists across the width of the porch before the guys start assembling the roof system. The bottom or the tails of these rafters will be exposed just like those on the house with the same detailed scroll cut so everything matches. All those cuts and the modified hip design of this roof add up to a lot of work, but the effort will be worthwhile if we can mimic the existing construction the way we hope to. As soon as our guys get the roof decking on this porch, the roofers show up and start covering it with shingles to keep it all dry.
Well, I always feel kind of sorry for the roofing crew when the weather's this hot, but they know what they're doing. They're out here early in the morning to try to get this roofing completely finished before it really gets hot in the middle of the day. Hey, at this point in the job, the guys are ready to start getting into a lot of the details, and one of those details involves all of the columns, and there's over 100 pieces of wood that have to go together in order to make these columns look very close to the original columns on the front porch. So they'll start tackling that in just a few days. Another thing that's about to happen, our brick mason will be here soon to start bricking in around all of our piers. And basically the brick's just kind of a cosmetic finishing touch on the outside, but we were able to find a brick that matches perfectly to the original. They'll be starting very soon.
However, the masons who are doing that work are also responsible for constructing our fireplace, and they need to start it first so that they can add brick veneer to it and the piers at the same time. This fireplace is assembled from precast pieces so that the firebox and chimney are exactly the right shape and dimensions. Hey, that's real important because it will affect how well smoke is drawn up the chimney and how well heat is projected out the front. At the roofline, the chimney will taper in, but the masons have to pause here a little bit to wait for a special cast piece to make that turn. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew begins trimming the beams and applying primer to finish surfaces. The columns have been wrapped in plywood to prepare for the trim work ahead. While the guys lay out the details of that design, let's head to the Home Depot to check out this week's best new product.
Now, whether you're creating a new outdoor living space or you already have an existing one, outdoor lighting is perfect to add to the overall atmosphere that you're trying to create. Now, of course, during the day you're going to get a flood of light, but at night you want it to be more subtle and just kind of create a better atmosphere that you can enjoy it without it being so overpowering. Now, you can see you've got all different choices when it comes to outdoor lighting. So when you're thinking about things around your patio, you might want to consider this, especially if you're doing it yourself. This is a solar-operated rope light by Hampton Bay. Now, this is nice because it stretches out to 16 feet long. It is solar-operated, so it's very easy to install and operate. Now, this is a great feature that you can put around railings. You can also use it in your gazebo or your umbrella. You can also line it along walkways or stairs if you want to illuminate those. So you might want to just pick up a couple of these because it'll be perfect for your outdoor living space.
Our back porch project for this historic home is moving along beautifully, and the crew is right in the middle of matching the trim for this project to the home's existing front porch. That includes columns that are full of details. First, the faces are covered with pre-primed trim boards. Then a cap is wrapped around the top. Before the edges are wrapped with 1x4s to create a great recessed panel look. Finally, the crown molding to cap it all off. The next job for these guys is installing the bead board that will form the ceiling of the porch. And while they're doing that, the masons make it back to the job to wrap the cinder block piers with brick veneer and lay the inset brick border for the patio. Those same bricks wrap the fireplace as well. And finally, the last few pieces of precast chimney flue are being stacked in place before they too are wrapped in brick. While there's a break in the action for the carpenters, Michael, our painter, begins prepping the new columns for the coatings that will follow in the next few days. The next big step will be the addition of the Ipe decking, and just after it's all stocked up on the patio, Alan drops by to check on the progress.
Well, you can see we've got a lot of progress going on. The guys are working on the deck here. If you look right up top, we got one of the brick guys here washing down the new chimney. I'm excited about this, though. We've got the deck boards getting ready to go on. This is a beautiful tropical hardwood. It's called Ipe, very dense, very heavy. It is moisture resistant, fungus resistant, resistant to insects, and there's no chemical treatment whatsoever. It's just a beautiful wood, and you can see it's going to be a great spanse of it, so it's going to look great. Hey, Joe, quick question for you. Why are you not running the deck boards all the way out? You got instead of a border?
Strictly an architectural thing. The architect put it on the plans like this. It's a design that the homeowner wanted to match the front porch. So we decided to go with a border. We're going to run a border on the interior, and then we're going to fill everything in, give it a nice clean look.
How tough is it putting in there? Because I know you can't just pop a screw or nail in these things.
Well, we do have to countersink and pre-drill everything, and it takes a lot of forethought on it to get everything lined up right. But once you start going, it's not too bad.
The countersinking in the trim boards is done with a Forstner bit to leave a clean hole that can be plugged later. The deck boards themselves are tongue and groove planks, but they also have to be pre-drilled on the tongue side before each is secured with long stainless steel screws. About every 4 rows, we're adding spacers between the boards. Even as dense as Ipe is, it will expand and contract, at least some, and this space will allow room for that without buckling. These guys have it down to a science, and that's a good thing because there are a lot of holes to drill and a lot of screws to drive.
Hey, now that all the Ipe flooring is down, everybody else can get on the job and start taking care of all of the finishing details. Now, Paul's working on the little wooden blanks that we have going in on top of the screws here on top of the Ipe. Great finishing touch. Also, Mark and Mike are in the process of installing the new mahogany door. Great transition between the house and this great looking porch. And Joe and Wiley's trying to figure out exactly how we're going to work in the outdoor kitchen. A lot of painting going on here too, and Michael's in the process of all of the prep. 'Cause when you have an older house like this where you're using an awful lot of wood, there's a lot of prep, caulking, puttying, sanding, all of that before the finishing touches can go on. But you know, when you look at this floor, it is a very unique floor, one that's going to hold up really well. You can see the design here with a little accent band running down the middle. But here's something that might throw you off. Look what a bow we have in this floor. Well, actually, that was intentional and really a good idea because we started realizing how we needed to create a little bit of crown in this floor so that when the rain blew in, it would get off the floor as quick as possible. That'll keep the floor from deteriorating as quickly, keep it from being a slip hazard, and just overall keep the porch looking better for a lot longer.
Speaking of looking good, there's painting to be done, a set of cabinets to build for the outdoor refrigerator, lattice to wrap the underside of the porch, and don't forget about that TV above the fireplace.
Emily asks, every time it rains, we have standing water all around the back patio. Is there a way to stop this?
Having water pond around your house anywhere is not a good idea, even out in the yard. This can attract mosquitoes and it'll certainly encourage fungus and disease growth in your yard, and that means a lot of dead grass just like we have here. Even more importantly, you don't want the water ponding next to your house. That can affect the integrity of the ground, and sooner or later you're going to have some foundation settling. That's not a good idea. Also, water next to your foundation can force its way into your basement, creating a really wet basement. Now, the solution is simply to spread dirt around the perimeter of your house and grate it so that it encourages the water to move immediately away from the house. Also, make sure your landscaping is not acting as a dam to prevent that water from flowing away.
The back porch for Bailey Slayton's historic house has been a monumental project, and I think it's turned out great. It matches the architecture of the house in every detail possible, but with its location and layout, it should be thoroughly functional for this young family. The question is now, what does Bailey think about it?
Well, Bailey, I know you guys thought about this porch for a long time, got your architect to put it all together. Is everything like you wanted it?
This is exactly what we wanted. Everything from the floor to the beadboard to the intricate columns that everybody told us how difficult that was going to be to match.
There's a lot of different little pieces of wood in those columns.
But they turned out exactly what we wanted.
Hey, the floor is great. Ipe is a great way to go. I know you put it on the front porch years ago, and I don't blame you for wanting it back here.
That's what we did. It was mostly from a maintenance standpoint, not having to repaint and scrape and repaint. So we did it up front. We really liked it up front, and so that's why we did it back here as well.
Well, this center point here with having the fireplace, integrating the flat screen up above it, I know this took a little bit of studying and figuring out exactly the size and everything that you wanted.
Everything, it really, not having a concept of what we wanted, we didn't realize there was that much variety in a fireplace.
Right.
And so after some research and looking at different pictures of fireplaces, we kind of came to a decision of what we wanted, and Wiley and his crew replicated exactly.
Well, you won't have much of a chance to spend any time up here anyway. That'll be your spot, right?
I'll be over there, back there by the grill,
slaying
the dragon,
and then cooking and everything,
and cleaning up afterwards.
Yeah,
while they're watching TV.
Well, I hope you guys, you and your family, have a fantastic time out there.
We're looking forward to it.